And to discuss the presidential elections, I'm joined live from Prague in the Czech Republic by Ambassador Egemen Bağış. Egemen, thank you very much for joining us again on It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Firstly, before we talk about today's election and what we might expect from it, what have been the characteristics of America-Turkey relations under Donald Trump's presidency over the last 4 years when compared with those, let's say, under Barack Obama?
Well, in every healthy relation, there are good days and there are better days. Mm-hmm. And we have seen examples of it both with President Obama and also with President Trump. At the end of the day, it's the American public who is going to decide who is going to be running the United States for the next 4 years. But if this question had risen a year ago, a year earlier, everyone would argue that President Trump would win because he had done good in terms of economy. Inflation rates were down, interest rates were down, and economic growth was up. He created a lot of jobs. We might not like some of his rhetoric, but we all have to give him the credit that he did quite well in terms of running the economy. But his main competition tonight is not Mr. Biden, it's COVID. And in the last 6 months, he has been working very hard and eventually became a victim of that virus himself to combat COVID and the effects of COVID. Unfortunately, a lot of people have lost lives in the United States. A lot of people have been hospitalized. A lot of people fear going out of their homes. People cannot go to work. And that has created a different psychology within the United States, just like it has all around the world. So it's going to be a very interesting one. The polls all have different forecasts, but we might not even have a result by tomorrow this time, because it's record-breaking numbers in terms of mail-in votes, and some of the votes might not be counted for the next several days. Indeed. So it's going to be a very interesting one, but hopefully democracy will prevail, and the will of people, the will of the American people, is going to be important. And it's not only involving what happens to the U.S. for the next 4 years, because it will also have its repercussions in other parts of the world in terms of relations with many countries, including Turkey and Russia and China and India and the Middle East and all the world developments. As we have seen, the United States has not been very vocal about the disputes vis-a-vis Libya or Syria or Northern Mediterranean, not even the China Sea. And after the elections, no matter who wins, we will see a more vocal U.S. and more hands-on, probably, and how that will affect will involve all of us.
Yes, indeed. The upcoming election obviously puts some aspects of foreign policy on hold. But looking back over the last 4 years, in terms of relationships with Turkey, can we say that the incumbent president, Donald Trump, has had a good relationship? What's characterized the relationship between the US and Turkey over the last 4 years?
I would say it was a lot personal between President Erdogan and President Trump. They had a good chemistry. They did not always agree on all issues, but they both respected each other, and they both had a very open line of communication where they discussed everything, and sometimes argued, sometimes cooperated, but at least they had an ongoing dialogue. And I am under the impression that whoever the American people choose today to run their government for the next 4 years, will have to have a similar attitude towards Turkey. It's because Turkey is the second largest military force within NATO. Turkey is situated in a very sensitive geography. Turkey is surrounded by very important neighbors for the United States foreign policy perspective. And Turkey is a natural route, a natural bridge between supply and demand, be it energy sources, be it raw materials, be it finished goods. So Turkey is a very important ally at a very strategic point, part of the world that no matter who wins, will not have the luxury to ignore.
So one of the issues which was just mentioned to me a few moments ago was that Donald Trump particularly put pressure on NATO. So NATO's very important for as a partnership, not just Turkey and the United States, but several other countries as well. But also with regards to foreign policy, as you mentioned, in Syria and Libya and Azerbaijan, with particularly with the Nagorno-Karabakh issue at the moment, with Azerbaijan needing to liberate that area and regain its sovereignty there. How would things change if after this election Trump continues, or if Joe Biden comes in to take the role of President of the United States? Well, which president will have a better view on foreign policy, do you think?
Well, it's always easier to talk about foreign policy when you're a candidate, but when you are heading the executive branch and you are faced with realities, you have to put into account the national interests of your country and the advice from your different departments and institutions. So whoever wins will have to ask for consultation to the State Department, to Pentagon, to CIA, to Homeland Security, and also to their appropriate advisors on foreign trade and their national security advisor. And after all that, they will have to make a decision on how to govern. So prior to the elections, the candidates might have given sympathetic messages to Armenian community because simply there are more Armenian Americans than Azerbaijani Americans who are voting for the U.S. elections. But the minute somebody takes office, first of all, we all have to keep in mind that no matter what happens today, no matter who wins this election, President Trump will be leading the United States till January the 1st. Because till then, there might be a transition team, but he's going to be the president.
Yes.
And even if Biden is president-elect, Trump will have full authority to continue running the country. But whoever takes over, or if Trump continues after January or Biden takes over, as I said, they will have to take advice. And then the strategic roles of involved countries, for example, vis-a-vis NATO, no matter who wins, they cannot afford to ignore the second largest military force within NATO. So Turkey is going to be very important. The Incirlik base is going to be very important, no matter who wins. What's happening in the Mediterranean is going to be important. Turkey's role vis-a-vis Syria, Libya, Iraq, Iran, the dispute between Turkey and Greece in the Aegean and the continental shelf issue. All those issues will have to be addressed, and the United States will look to their national interests and to the recommendations of their appropriate agencies. So, yes, the president is important. The tone is set by the president, but it's the national interest of every country that prevails at the end of the day, no matter who runs that country.
Of course, I want to take you up on that. As you say, a president has to take their advice from their advisors. Now, Turkey's long spoken of peace at home, peace in the world. Is that a slogan that the United States should take on board and advise the president for the next 4 years?
Well, what the United States should do should be decided by American diplomats and American advisors. So I don't want to tell them how they should behave, but at the end of the day,
general policy,
peace is more profitable. There's more profit in peace for all sides. War is a very expensive endeavor. Fighting is a very expensive endeavor. We should allocate our resources to fight against our common enemies like terrorism, like narcotics, like organized crime, not against countries that are run by democratically elected governments and who are trying to provide better living standards to their citizens. So the United States should also take into account and respect the democratic decisions in every country, just like every country respects the American people's will in terms of who is going to be running them. So be it Venezuela or any other country in the Pacific or in Africa or in the Middle East, I think democracy is a very important value for all nations, and we should encourage more democratic regimes all around the globe.
As you say, it's up to the American people to choose their next president. But speaking from the position of ambassador to the Czech Republic, which candidate do you think the Czech people are rooting for, and who do you think that they hope will win?
Well, the Czech Republic is a very rich country in terms of many aspects, including political views. So you can be assured that there are a lot of Czechs who support President Trump and wish that he will continue. And there are a lot of Czechs who prefer Mr. Biden to be the next president of the United States and run because the United States is a very important ally. And don't forget the fact that this country was under communist rule for many years, so there's a lot of sensitivity towards Russia. This country has faced a lot of difficult years because of the Nazis, so there's also a very sensitive relationship with that feedback or that memories that continue to bother. But I am not sure even if the United States is very clear on who they want, because it's going to be a polarized election. And the campaign itself was more polarizing than ever before. I've lived myself in the United States for 17 years when I was a student. And I don't remember witnessing any election campaigns as we have witnessed this year. Just like elections in many other countries, we have seen motorcades and cars and flags and people trying to associate themselves with one candidate or another and trying to support them very vocally. Normally in elections, you don't really feel the sense of election in the United States as much as you do or we did during this election, because the campaign was everywhere, in every street, in every neighborhood, in every town. But normally only on the TV debates or on the rallies you would see people with the flags and the buttons and of the candidates and specific political circles.
Perhaps
during this election, we saw them in every circle.
Perhaps this has ignited a new passion for democracy, which at the end of the day would only be a good thing for people to become more active in a positive way.
Well, it's already obvious that more people will be voting in this election than ever before. So they're gearing towards breaking a record. So Guinness should empty a page for this election.
Tonight. Thank you so much for joining me, Egemen Bağış. It's a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you very much.
As always, take care.